purchasing a home bad for wealth creation? There are really three situations where purchasing a home to live in are bad for your financial freedom and growing your wealth. Just off the bat, talking about the mortgage, the fees, and the opportunity costs. All that adds up. Not to mention your wealth building focus. I'll tackle all three of these reasons in this video. But not only that, I'll share scenarios where owning a home to live in makes sense. Let's just start off with the costs. This one's self-explanatory, so we're not going to focus or spend too much time here, but the mortgages, the fees, it's one of the things that is not necessarily talked about enough in the home ownership space. When you're owning a home, they know that they're going to have to pay a mortgage every month. They know that they're going to have to pay home ownership fees. They know that they have to pay insurance. And if they don't manage to get the 20% down to own the home in certain jurisdictions and in certain scenarios, they have to pay private mortgage insurance, among other things. We're not even talking about fees associated to your realtor and other things like property taxes and things of that nature. In reality, owning a home just to live in, kind of expensive. We all are aware of that. And that's really the biggest reason, and it's the first reason, and it's something that you should keep in mind whenever you're thinking about owning a home, particularly to live in. The next reason why owning a home to live in, specifically getting a mortgage to buy a home to live in, would be the opportunity costs and the fact that they add up. The real value of saving up a down payment is that you build the discipline to save large sums of cash. And saving large sums of cash and investing large sums of cash, that builds real wealth. If you're capable of saving that kind of money, you're really demonstrating to yourself and to others that you're able to play with the big dogs and drop real money on real investments. Let's dive into a simple example. Imagine you had your eye on a $500,000 house, and you wisely did not want to pay mortgage insurance, which would drive up your lifetime fees for the ownership of that house. This means that you need to save up 20%, and 20% of $500,000 is $100,000. Now that is no small chunk of change, but if you can save that kind of cash up, the real value that you've accumulated is the ability to save up 100K. That's an important point. Let's imagine if that took you 5 years of scrimping and saving, but nevertheless you have the cash in the bank. If you can spend 10 years saving, now that is a long time for sure, but I'm building up to a bigger point here, so don't lose focus. If you spent 10 years saving, assuming you're not taking advantage of high yield savings accounts, other savings vehicles, more on that momentarily, then you would have $200,000 in cash during a 10-year time period. So if you wanted to, and you adjusted your expectations, you could get a $200,000 house in 10 years and not pay any interest on a mortgage. And one thing that people don't really appreciate is that paying interest is one of the big ways that you miss out on future wealth creation. Paying rent is also a way to miss on future wealth creation. So you're really in a no-win situation when it comes to your living situation. Paying rent doesn't necessarily have the high costs and fees, etc., associated to living. Now there are fees and so forth, like pet fees and I guess pool fees and all that other junk, but those are relatively minor compared to what you're going to pay in mortgages, real estate fees, home ownership fees, homeowner association fees, private mortgage insurance, etc., and not to mention interest on your mortgage. All that will be saved over time if you really think about the total cost of ownership. And that sort of plays into the next point. Whenever you're buying a home to live in, your focus shifts. Keep in mind that priority and focus are two of the big keys to getting outcomes that you want in anything, particularly in personal finances. And home ownership, among many things, can be a time sink and a resource sink. The stuff you have to do to keep your house together starts to cut into the mental energy that you need to improve your finances in other ways. For example, getting more skills, applying the skills that you already have to increase your income, finding synergies in your life that enable you to have a side hustle that can become your main hustle, which can lead to increasing your income. And increasing your income, if you have discipline, which is a point that I talked about earlier, is one of the best ways to increase your wealth. No need to dive into any of that anymore, as it's self-evident, and I have videos on that topic. But when you spend all your free time worrying about manicuring your lawn, decorating your domicile, doing it yourself with home improvements, or vetting and finding home improvement specialists, even though all those things will increase the value of your home, they're not going to drive exponential growth, like increasing your skills, your contacts, and your income will. And this is where people tend to get hung up. It's the fact that I say that purchasing a home is not great for your wealth. There are other better ways to build wealth, and I do have videos on that. But I'm not saying never purchase a home. There are certain situations when purchasing a home is actually good. And yes, getting a mortgage to purchase a home that you live in. I think an analogy to help people understand what I'm talking about can be important. Let's talk about purchasing an automobile. Purchasing an automobile is in a strict financial sense, not your best investment. Yes, an automobile will allow you to travel to and from important business meetings, school conferences, etc., where you'll level up your skills, which could theoretically increase your income. But in the purest financial sense, purchasing a car will not drive your wealth, particularly newer mid-luxury automobiles like entry-level BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, even Teslas to a certain extent. If you took the money you would have spent on those automobiles, the more expensive gas, the more expensive insurance, the more expensive monthly payment, the down payment to secure the right to get the auto loan or lease document, and put that instead into an S&P 500 index fund, a certificate of deposit, a high yield savings account. Over the term where you were making payments on that automobile, you would be much richer. It's similar with purchasing a home with a mortgage for all the reasons I discussed, but the car gives you utility. It gives you free mobility. You're not waiting to catch the bus or the subway and being late for important meetings and things like that. You can get up and go wherever and whenever you want. This automobile provides you with utility that you can't necessarily quantify. You can, but it gives you a sense of freedom. It's the same with purchasing a home with a mortgage. The financial gains, while there are some, I'm not saying that there aren't any, they're not the main draw. Purchasing a home is beneficial for these 3 reasons. Let's talk about the first one. When you're aware that the financial gain is not the main driver of your home purchase, then it's a financial positive to you. This is not a license to spend unreasonably on a house, but a realization that you're likely not going to get quote unquote rich by paying down your mortgage. In the same way you wouldn't think that you'd be getting rich by paying off your auto loan, and therefore you get the most expensive car that you could find. The next point is you're slowly building your real estate empire. The other thing we're going to talk about is your house hacking. Each of these reasons is related to each other, and one can drive the other. Let's unpack all 3. So you're well aware that your home is not going to drive exponential wealth growth, and you just need a more permanent place to lay your hat, kick up your feet, store all your crap. You know you're going to be in a certain city or region for a long period of time, 3 to 10 years, and you know you'll be putting in a significant amount of equity, both of the monetary and sweat variety, to improve the domicile, and therefore you have the potential to make little in profit in the deal for yourself. That's a great reason to own a home and get it through a mortgage. If you have a growing family, similar to the first point, you're laying down roots and you don't want to have to move every year or two because the rent keeps going up. Potentially changing up the environment for your young ones, switching schools, having to make new friends every couple of years, giving your young family some time to experience stability is a very common reason to want to have a more permanent residence. And that, along with the motivations to stay in one place for a long period of time, is a good reason to buy a house. Another reason why getting a mortgage to buy a house is a good thing is that you're slowly purchasing and upgrading homes to increase your real estate empire. Now, this is a scenario where you're more of a business-minded individual and you're purchasing homes, living in them, but at the same time fixing them up with an eye to try and add value to them. And not just to suit your own taste, but the tastes of the market, because likely your eclectic tastes are not going to drive growth in the value of the house. Not as much as you want anyway. There are really 2 types of people who typically do this. The DIY do-it-yourselfer type. The DIY guy or gal loves watching the DIY channel and the property twins, and they love going to Home Depot or Lowe's to browse the garden section or the home lighting and decor section, talking about 2x4s and 3/4 inch plywood and 12D sinkers, things like that. And they love to think of various ways they can spruce up the home that they purchased, and they're keeping their mind's eye on the market in the future. If that is you, then congratulations. Your hobby is likely going to make you some money, more money than your typical house buying customer. Not much more, but some more for sure. And then there are the strictly business types who would rather hire someone else to do all that hard work, realizing that, the cost of labor is one of the largest drivers of cost of any project. But at the same time, hiring a professional is likely to get you a better outcome, unless you're a certified carpenter, electrician, plumber, etc. And that extra investment is going to add up in the long run in higher quality and thus higher value from the house you just owned. And this is all good, as long as you realize that you're adding value and finding a diamond in the rough and then upgrading it so that it meets or exceeds the standards of other homes around it. Now, this is related to the last reason why buying a home. Using a mortgage can be all right in certain situations, and that is that you're house hacking. I spoke about saving up to 20% down on a house, and instead of paying that immediately, you would then invest it into something that could really grow, things like stocks, bonds. The truth is, this actually applies to home ownership as well. You see, you could put that 20% that you saved up into a mini multifamily to help you house hack instead of getting that nice single family home that you're looking to purchase anyway. As we all know, our housing costs are among the largest expense we'll be paying over our entire lives. Of course, we have taxes, can't forget transportation, but putting a roof over your head is right up there as well. And house hacking is a great way to get the housing piece of that equation down some. There are a number of ways to house hack. A popular one is to buy a mini multifamily, find a duplex, triplex, a quadplex housing unit. You then buy it, and then you rent out the extra units to other individuals. Those types of housing units are still considered single family in the eyes of the law. And of course, you're a banker, and you can use a mortgage to purchase them. The only difference is that mortgage is now a vehicle to own a cash flowing asset. By leasing out those extra units, you are either offsetting your costs, or if you're lucky enough, you might be running a positive cash flow. The thing is, the entire time that you're doing this, you're building equity and growing your personal wealth using other people's money. One thing to keep in mind is that multifamily units typically don't move as easily as single family units in certain jurisdictions. For whatever reason, the general home buying public does not see the value in multifamily units the same way you and I do. So the value tends to not rise as quickly. And it's harder to move them, so they're less liquid than single family homes. So make sure you vet the area that you live in, particularly before you take the plunge with that form of house hacking. Another great but seldomly discussed way to house hack is to purchase a single family home that's in a great neighborhood, but maybe has seen better days. The diamond in a rough, as it were. Maybe there's some issues with landscaping, the kitchen, the bathroom. Maybe that needs an upgrade. Perhaps it's an older home. It just needs a new decor, cabinets, backsplashes, countertops, that kind of thing. Maybe it needs a lot of work. The foundation is cracked. The roof needs to be replaced. There's flood damage or mold all over the place. The point is, find a place that needs work, purchase it, live in it, for a set period of time. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. But that entire time, work on it and fix it up. Then, at the end of that period of time, flip it and try and get all the money out that you put into it, or move on to purchase another house and rent the one you just fixed up. Ultimately, earning more money and then investing it. That's the way to grow your wealth. And house hacking can help you to do just that. Take a look at the video on the screen to learn more about why owning a house may not be the thing for you. And remember, a goal without a plan is a wish. A goal with a plan and no action is a wish list. Like, subscribe, turn on all post notifications. I'm Derek West for Finance Squared. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.